I was folding laundry in my apartment when a memory surfaced from last year, one that still makes me smile with a mixture of satisfaction and lingering irritation. Back then, I didn't have the luxury of a washer and dryer in my unit, so I relied on the communal machines located in the small building by the apartment complex pool. It wasn't ideal, but it was what I could afford at the time. One evening, after a particularly exhausting shift at work, I gathered my overflowing hamper and trudged down to the laundry room. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the pool area, and I could hear distant laughter from somewhere in the complex. I loaded my clothes into the washer, waited through the cycle while scrolling mindlessly through my phone, then transferred everything to the dryer. I fed the machine to required quarters, heard the reassuring tumble of the drum starting up, and headed back to my apartment to wait out the 45 minutes. When I returned to collect my clothes, I immediately knew something was wrong. The dryer door hung wide open and the drum was completely empty. My heart sank as I looked around frantically. Then I noticed the dryer below mine, the one that had been empty when I left. My clothes were crammed inside, still damp and wrinkled, carelessly shoved in without any consideration. In an MY dryer, the one I had paid for, the one that should have contained my warm, dry clothes, someone else's garments were tumbling away, filling the small room with the unmistakable sharp scent of chlorine. Confused and increasingly angry, I walked to the window that overlooked the pool. There, in the dim evening light, I saw 3 people splashing around in their underwear, their laughter carrying across the water. It didn't take long to piece together what had happened. They jumped into the pool fully clothed on impulse, gotten out soaking wet and uncomfortable, spotted my dryer running with time left on it, and decided to help themselves. They stole my pay time to save themselves $1 or 2. Rage bubbled up inside me. The audacity of it, the casual disrespect, the assumption that their convenience mattered more than mine. I switched everything back immediately, placing my clothes where they rightfully belonged in the dryer I paid for. But they're wet. Chlorine-soaked clothes? I didn't just leave them in a pile. I found a large trash can in the corner of the laundry room and carefully shoved their clothes down into the gap between the plastic bag and the metal rim. Unless someone really looked, they'd never find them. Then I waited, sitting on the bench with my arms crossed, listening to my dryer hum. When the cycle finally finished, I gathered my warm, dry clothes into my basket and started walking back toward my apartment. Behind me, I heard confused voices that quickly turned to panic and anger. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. I just kept walking, climbed my stairs, got inside, and locked the door. 5 seconds later, someone was pounding on it hard enough to rattle the frame. I took a deep breath, composed myself, and opened the door. All 3 of them stood there on my doorstep, soaking wet and shivering slightly in nothing but their underwear. Water dripped on my welcome mat. The girl in front, arms wrapped around herself, accused me of stealing their clothes. Her voice was indignant, entitled. I looked at her calmly and gestured to my basket of clearly dry, clearly different clothes. I told her these were mine, that I had the only dryer running when I left just now. I watched as the realization crossed their faces. They couldn't admit they'd taken my clothes out first without incriminating themselves. They couldn't explain how their clothes disappeared without acknowledging what they'd done. They just stood there, dripping and speechless, trying to figure out what to say. I asked, with exaggerated politeness, if there was anything else I could help them with. They looked at each other, their earlier confidence completely deflated. Finally, without another word, they turned and walked away into the darkness. No shoes, no dry clothes, just wet underwear and the evening mosquitoes that were already swarming. I never saw them at that pool again.